Is Calgary in a buyer's or a seller's market? And what exactly does that mean? I get asked the question all the time if Calgary's in a housing bubble. Are prices going to keep going up or they're going to drop soon? I have a lot of buyers asking, should they buy right now or should they wait? Should they wait for the interest rates to come down? I have sellers asking, should I sell right now and take advantage of the conditions or should I wait as well? Now, what's the right answer? In this video, I'll let you know my thoughts and we're going to get into it right now. And before we get into it, my name is Ryan Gillard. I'm a local realtor here in Calgary with Real Broker. And if you are out there watching this and you could use some help buying, selling, or relocating, or just have some questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm easy to get a hold of. You can call, text, email, or comment. I'll get it and I'll get back to you. So first things first, what exactly is a buyer's or a seller's market? So a buyer's market occurs, it's just simple supply and demand. When there are more homes available for sale than there are active buyers looking for those properties. And you'll see falling prices, expired listings, long days on the market. You'll see seller concessions. They're trying to compete to get the buyer's interest. So you'll see favorable terms for the buyer. Now, Calgary was in a buyer's market from 2015 until the start of COVID, I would say. And a seller's market is when you have a few homes for sale in the market with a lot of buyer activity. And you'll see rising prices, offers that have few terms and conditions. You'll see competing offers, offers above list price, unconditional offers, and you'll just see fewer buyer terms and clauses. So it just favors the seller, and that's how I would describe a seller's market. So the answer to the title question, is Calgary in a buyer's or a seller's market? We are definitely in a seller's market in Calgary at the moment, and we have been since 2021. And going into the future, I expect this trend to continue with tight inventories and rising prices. And there are a few variables that could affect this, such as the interest rates. A lot of buyers are asking if they're going to drop the interest rates. What's happening with immigration and migration. There's a lot of newcomers coming to Canada right now, and it's causing a bit of a housing crisis. So this is a hot button issue at the moment. What happens with oil and gas always deeply affects the Calgary market, and we should have a federal election either this year or next year that could also affect our real estate market. So there are a few variables that could make a difference to the Calgary market, but I do expect that our trend will continue going into the near future of it being a seller's market. So the market definitely does favor the seller right now, but what can you do as a buyer to survive in this situation, to make your life easier in a seller's market? Now, the two kind of issues I come across routinely is I'll meet a buyer and they're waiting for the bubble to burst and for prices to drop. That's the first one. And the second one is I come across a ton of buyers right now who are waiting for the interest rates to drop before purchasing. I think this is a bit of a mistake in the Calgary market. Maybe if you were living in a market where the prices were declining, that might make sense. But Calgary, we've seen crazy price increases. So I personally would not be waiting for the rates to drop before purchasing. I think you'll price yourself out of the market if you are waiting for the rates to drop before purchasing in Calgary. And let's be honest, the rates were only that low because of COVID. It was an abnormal situation. And if they lower the rates, inflation will just take off even more than what it currently is. And nobody really wants that. And the cost of living has skyrocketed. So I just can't see the government, dropping the rates significantly. It doesn't make sense to me if you're trying to fight inflation and the cost of living. And again, if they do that, the market will take off and you'll be buying in more difficult seller's market conditions than you currently are right now. So, and it's hard to time that as well. It's like trying to catch a falling knife, as they say in the stock market. To time that perfectly as a buyer, I think it'd be quite difficult. And here's a scenario to kind of show you why I think this way. So say that you're buying a property in Calgary and it's $600,000, 25-year term, 5.6% interest rate. And I'm just kind of using ballpark numbers. Your payment would be around, say, $3,700. If you were to wait for the interest rates to drop before purchasing a home, now that $600,000 home is, say, $700,000, the interest rate is 4% versus 5.6%, 25-year term, your payment is roughly the same, $3,700. And this might sound like I'm exaggerating, but not really. Before COVID, you could find a lot of single-family homes in the $300,000 and $400,000 price point. Nowadays, all those properties are like $600,000. So we've seen some crazy price increases in Calgary. And if you wait for the rates to drop, you might price yourself out of the market completely. And I can see our prices going up in the near future as well. We have the lowest inventory levels on the market since 2006. And again, it's just supply and demand. If there's not many homes for sale, but there's a lot of people who are looking for those properties, the prices will go up. Last I checked, there are only 700 single-family homes on the market in Calgary. That's like extreme seller's market territory. And again, if you're waiting for the rates to drop, you might just price yourself out of the market as the prices continue to rise in Calgary. And next up, here are some things that you can do in a hardcore seller's market to make your life a bit easier when buying a property. And the first point here is the pre-approval letter. So when you submit your offer, I would also attach the pre-approval letter just so that they know that you're serious. A weird anomaly in a seller's market is you get a lot of deals fall apart. And I think what happens is that buyers are frantically running around submitting offers, and sometimes they get themselves into bidding wars, or they just offer too much money and they get cold feet, a lot of stuff like that. So if you can attach a pre-approval letter, it just shows that you're serious and that you've done your due diligence. And I would also have all your tax documents ready, your notice of assessments, any kind of documentation like that. I'd ask the bank or your mortgage broker to pull your credit. You'd be shocked at how often the bank doesn't pull your credit. You could literally run around and see 20 properties, make an offer, and then the deal falls apart because the bank didn't pull your credit. This happens all the time and it's very frustrating. For this reason, I would probably use a mortgage broker versus the bank. And just a lot easier. The banks are hard to work with. They don't answer their phones. They're on bankers' hours. And mortgage brokers they're just more reliable, I find, when it comes to pulling the credit and doing all the due diligence. And point number 2, I would just be working with one specific realtor. I wouldn't be going house to house and using every single listing agent or just using random agents here and there. I would commit to one. It should make the process smoother. And one thing to note is if you do go directly to the listing agent, that agent has an obligation to represent the seller's best interest, not so much the buyer's interest. So I would have your own specific buyer's agent. And point number 3 is you want to be flexible. Understand that many homes that you see on the MLS system are actually gone. So a good example, I just sold a property a few days ago and the buyer sent me about 15 MLS listings and we only saw about 4 of them. The rest were either conditionally sold or firm sold pending the deposit. So many homes that you see they're actually gone. And you want to be flexible in terms of location, price range, amenities, the location. For this buyer, we looked in South Calgary and we also looked into Airdrie. So just be flexible. There's not many homes for sale at the moment and you might have to expand your search criteria. And point number 4 is you want to act quickly. If you see the right property, I would act on it immediately because chances are in this market, it's not going to linger too long, especially if it's priced right. Now, this is easier said than done as many listing agents or sellers will intentionally delay offer presentations for a few days to put buyers into competing offers situations. So it's easier said than done, but if you do find something that you like, I would act immediately. And point number 5 is that you want to put your best foot forward and don't get attached to the outcome and expect to be competing for the property. So for your offer, you want to know what the seller wants for their possession date. If you can give them what they want, that makes your odds go up of securing the property. You want to have tight condition timelines. For the price, if you're competing, you want to offer high enough that you can secure the property, but not so high that you're pissed off with the price that you offered. So it's kind of like a fine line. And you might want to use an escalation clause. So what that is that you're offering, say, $5,000 more than the nearest competitor up to a certain price. That could be the difference between securing the property or not. And again, just don't get attached to the outcome. And point number 6 is you want to stay patient. So I can recall last year I had a buyer looking for a townhouse around like the $300,000 price point, which is a very tight market in Calgary right now. And we lost out maybe 15 times in a row before finally securing a townhouse. So it's a tough market right now. There's a limited number of homes for sale and a lot of buyers fighting for those properties. So don't blame your realtor. It can be a tough process right now. And I can recall just last month, we had a buyer looking in the $600,000 price point in South Calgary. And we lost it a few times and people were offering like $100,000 over list price. So it's hard to compete against some of that craziness. So it's not the realtor's fault if you're losing out by an unconditional offer that's $100,000 over list price. And I'd also mention is beware of the new listings in that you could see a property, a brand new listing comes on the market, we view it, we make an offer, we lose out, and we repeat this cycle over and over and over again. The new listings have the most interest and they have all the competing offers. So if you can find properties that are maybe 5 days on the market or higher or longer, it might be a bit easier than going after the brand new listings. But again, it's tough to control because there's not many homes for sale. So buyers are keeping an eye on the brand new listings. But again, they have the most interest and they're the hardest ones to secure. Point number 7, if you can't find the right property, there's hardly any homes for sale in the market, consider looking at expired listings or terminated listings that happened in the past. Sometimes you can get lucky and those sellers are still interested in actually moving, and it could be a way to find some additional supply if you can't find it on the market at the moment. And point number 8, don't overextend yourself. So if you're approved for say 600,000, don't shop right at that limit. I would look at a lower priced home and assume that it's going to be pushed up in value due to competing offers closer to your approval limit. And lastly, point number 9 is waiting. So in Calgary, the busiest time of the year in terms of sales activity is the spring market. So people buy in the spring market and they want to have possession in the summertime before school starts. That's typically the busiest time of the year. So if you are looking to buy right now and you keep losing out, I would consider waiting for the summer or the fall market. There's less sales activity, there's less competing offers, and you might have more luck if you just wait a few months. And moving along, let's talk about selling your home. So right now you couldn't pick a better time to sell your home in terms of purchase price, days on the market, terms and conditions. It's quite easy. The question is, should you sell now or should you wait? And I will say that things take a long time to play out in real estate. Supply growth is not going to happen overnight. We're not going to go from having 700 single-family active listings to having 4,000. It's not going to happen overnight. Things take forever to play out in real estate. So I imagine our tight market conditions will last at least until the summertime, if not longer. There's not much inventory, and again, it's going to take a long time for things to play out. So I don't imagine waiting to sell to be too problematic. With that said, though, I do find a lot of people right now are wanting to sell. They just don't want to renew their homes at the new mortgage rates. And so we're seeing more active listings come onto the market. The problem is that with all the new listing increases, the buyers are right there and they're picking up all that supply. So there still is some pent-up demand. So it's hard to predict what's going to happen. It's like predicting the stock market. Nobody really knows. But I can see us having a pretty strong market going into the future with low inventory. Worst case scenario, it goes from a hardcore seller's market to being more of a balanced market. I can see a scenario where you have a lot of people listing their homes because of the higher interest rates, and maybe immigration tapers off. But again, I don't think that's going to cause us to go into buyer's market territory anytime in the near future. So if you are thinking of selling, again, you can't pick a better time. But if you are waiting a little bit, I don't see that as being too problematic as well. And the same things I mentioned earlier, they still apply to the seller's end of our topic, in that I'm looking at interest rates, obviously. We're looking at the prices of oil and gas, immigration levels, politics, the elections coming up, maybe this year or next year. All of these things could impact our real estate market. And so those are just some variables that I'm keeping my eye on as well. And next up, here are some things that you can do to fully take advantage of the seller's market conditions. And point number 1 is the pricing strategy. So to accurately price your home, you want to base your sales price off of what has sold recently that's comparable to your property. So you want to compare apples to apples. So you don't want to compare a bungalow to a two-story. So you want to compare the same style, the same age, beds, baths, the size of the property. Is it a double attached garage or is it a detached garage? Is the basement finished or is it unfinished? Is it a walkout basement? Does it back onto a busy road or does it back onto a green space? Is it in the estates area of the neighborhood or is it more of the entry-level part of the neighborhood? So there are lots of different factors to consider when pricing your property. And you want to base it off the sold prices, not the active listing prices. Too often I come across sellers who are basing their price off a neighbor's home that's currently listed, but it could be overpriced. So again, you want to look at the sales prices, not so much the active listing prices. But with that said, you do want to look at what's actively listed and position your home wisely. So you want to use the competition to help sell your home sometimes. And if you price your home wisely in a seller's market, you can really take advantage and get some huge sales prices. And if you are curious about more information on pricing your property, I have a video specifically on this topic, which you can find right here. And point number 2 is staging your home for sale. Now, this is not like hiring a professional stager and spending thousands of dollars, just simple items like decluttering your home, cleaning it out, make sure there's no smells in the home. You want to paint the interior and the exterior if you can, good curb appeal, just simple things in order to maximize the home's value. And point number 3 is marketing. Now, I already touched on the price. Pricing really does solve almost every issue in real estate. So you want to nail the list price, but you also want to market it. So I would have like videos on YouTube like I'm doing right now. You could have shorts on TikTok and Instagram. You can do Google ads, Facebook ads. You want to hire a professional photographer, hire an eye guide, that's the virtual walkthrough. You can do stuff like that. I would also consider listing it on a Thursday. Get out of the house for 2 to 3 days. Maybe list on a Thursday, look at offers on a Monday, and just allow every single showing in that time frame. And I think you can really maximize the sales return if you do things like this. And point number 4 is negotiation. Now, there are a bunch of items in this topic, and one thing that I would certainly do, but I never see happen, is if I was selling a property, I would hire a home inspector and I would fix any issues that pop up during the home inspection. And then when I list the property, I would attach the home inspection report to the MLS listing. And say you had 5 competing offers, I would tell those buyers, hey, look at the home inspection report, call the inspector if you have any questions whatsoever. And I would put the buyers at ease. And the reason why I would do this is because if buyers are confident there's no major issues and they can trust the home inspection report, maybe they write an offer without a home inspection condition. Maybe they write an unconditional offer at a higher price because they're confident that there's no major issues they have to take care of. So it just removes some obstacles from the buyer where they can put their best foot forward, and you might get a bigger return if you do something like this. But again, I never see this happen, but if it were me, I would certainly do this. Also, while you're negotiating, you might come across bully offers. So what that is if you list a home on a Thursday, your plan is to view offers on the Monday, you'll get buyers that come along and say, here's our offer, it's only good for today. If you wait till Monday, our offer is off the table. We call these bully offers. I would only accept one of these if it's an unconditional offer and the deposit is given to you the same day as the offer. Too many times you get a bully offer, you accept it, and the very next day it falls apart. And miraculously, financing falls through the day afterwards. This happens all the time. It's very frustrating. So I would only consider these offers if they're unconditional with a deposit the same day. And the last point here is let the buyer know exactly what you want for possession. So no holidays, no weekends, because the banks and the lawyers have to be open. But let them know the exact specific date that you want. It can make the transaction a bit easier if everybody knows kind of what you want for possession. So if you have a plan, it's not too difficult to sell a property. You've priced it right, you've marketed it well, you've done your due diligence when it comes to paperwork, the negotiation process is easy, and your home is sold. It can be as easy as that. Point number 5 is you want to slow the buyers down a little bit if you can. Now, what do I mean by this is, right now, buyers are frantically looking for properties. Sometimes they have like 4 offers in play on 4 different homes. And so they're looking around and they're jumping into properties, trying to secure them. Then when they finally have a secure offer, they change their mind. They get cold feet, they think it over, or they might have a different offer in play that's a better home. So you get lots of non-waivers in a hot seller's market. It's a weird phenomenon. So I like the idea of listing on a Thursday and look at offers on a Monday. Slow it down so the buyers have time to really think it over, because what you don't want is to accept an offer, all the momentum is taken out of the listing, and then you get a non-waiver the next day. It kind of ruins the whole experience. So you want to accept an offer that you think is a real offer that's not going to fall apart in a day or two. And another thing that I would mention is if you have 2 identical offers, one party has seen the home in person and the other party is a relocation buyer and they've only seen it remotely or through a video call, I would go with the people who have seen it in person. It's just an easier experience, I find. The relocation buyers, they might want to renegotiate after the fact once they've seen the property in person. It can just be a bit more complicated. So again, you want to slow the process down, try to get them into the property before accepting an offer. And this can also backfire. So you want to hire a good listing agent that's been around that can kind of guide you through this, because I've had experiences where we write an offer and the seller tells us, you know what, we're going to wait for 3 or 4 days to look at offers. And then 3 days goes by and we are the only people who are interested in this property. So our offer went from $500,000 because we thought we're going to be competing for it, and now it's just us. Our offer is now $460,000 or $470,000. So this can backfire. So you have to kind of see how things are going with the market and hire someone that has some experience in this situation. And point number 6, the last point here, if you are a seller and you want to take advantage of the situation, but you're worried that you can't find something, you might want to consider moving into a short-term rental or an Airbnb and then capitalizing on the current seller's market conditions. This might offer you some convenience to sell your home and then look for a property afterwards. Well, there you have it. That's my take on Calgary's current real estate market and what you can do as a buyer and what you can do as a seller. And if you are thinking of making a move, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'd love to help you out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.